If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Maura Murray, please contact the New Hampshire Cold Case Unit at 603 271 2663 or email them at coldcaseunit at dos.nh.gov or contact the family at www.mauramurraymissing.org or contact them by email at mauramurrayfamilydirect@gmail.com. Of course, links will be provided below. Hello, this is Rick and this is Burn After Reading. As of this recording, we are less than a month away of the 18 years when Maura Murray went missing. I know the majority of people who listen to this episode already know the details, both basically leading up to her disappearance. So I'm not sharing anything with you that isn't already known. But on the possibility that you might be listening for the first time and really don't know much about Maura's disappearance, I'll try my best to explain what happened leading up to it. I will offer some opinions, but I will do so without over speculating. I mean, I'm going to offer up opinions which may not necessarily be fact based. I could be way off, and I want you to know that ahead of time. But I also want to make sure that I'm doing that with as much empathy, compassion, and understanding as far as what she might be thinking leading up to this. So, without further delay, let me get into it. Maura Murray, who was 21 at the time, disappeared the evening of February 9th, 2004, after crashing her car at a sharp corner on Route 112 near Woodsville, New Hampshire, a village in the town of Haverhill, at about 7 p.m. Shortly after, a local woman called police at around 7:27 p.m. to report the accident. In addition, a school bus driver who also lived nearby stopped and asked if she needed any assistance. Maura declined, stating that she already called AAA for assistance. It would later be revealed that there was no call to AAA. Knowing the area, the local school bus driver knew that there was no cell phone service and where he was at, and even to my best understanding, there still isn't today. Which imagine what it was like in 2004, and because of that, another call was made to report the accident at 7:43 p.m. Now, at about 7:46 p.m., law enforcement arrived. I believe it was one officer, but Maura was nowhere to be found. There have been no credible sightings since. It's worth noting that there are possible discrepancies with the times reported, but I feel it's relevant just to give an estimated time frame. I know sometimes they get argued about, and I know that they've been picked apart a lot throughout the years. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. Now, the events leading up to the disappearance also sparked a lot of questions. Just to let you know what was going on in Maura's life at the time, she was attending school at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst for nursing. On the afternoon of Monday, February 9th, before she left the university campus, she did email her professors and a work supervisor, writing that she was taking a week off due to a death in the family. Now it came out that there was no death in the family, so most likely Maura just needed to come up with an acceptable excuse due to other events that were recently happening in her life, and we'll cover that in a second. We get a clue in an email exchange the day of her disappearance between her and her boyfriend at the time. She acknowledged that she did receive his messages, but did not feel like talking to anyone. But the emphasis should be anyone. Um, Clearly, she was dealing with some known and perhaps unknown stress in her life. About 4 days before her disappearance, Maura had a phone conversation with her older sister, Kathleen, who was dealing with her own hardships. It clearly upset Maura, as it was reported she broke down into tears. Um, After that, Maura, she just zoned out, and I know at least to her work supervisor came off unresponsive. Now, her work supervisor, she was able to get some kind of idea of what was going on, and Maura basically only said two words, and that was my sister. Clearly, Maura was hurting, and sadly, things would only get more stressful. On February 7th, Maura's dad came to Amherst to help her look for a new car, and the one she had, it wasn't safe to drive at all. Um, so as they were looking for a car, they did not end up purchasing one that day. I believe there was one that they were scoping out, but I think her dad would have to come back another day to get that money in full. He did pull out a couple $1,000. I think it was $4,000, but it wasn't enough. So I think that they were still going to try to work on that. Um, but later that evening, her father let her borrow his car that night to go to a party. As Saturday night led into early Sunday morning, Maura was leaving the party, and on the way back to her dad's hotel. I don't know if it was a hotel or a motel. I don't remember that clearly, but either way, where he was staying for the night, um, she crashed her dad's car, and that the damages totaled around 10 grand in damages. And while it was revealed insurance was going to cover the costs, Maura was pretty distraught by what happened, hating the idea of disappointing her father due to the accident. And while I'm sure her father was not exactly thrilled with the damages, he assured her it would be okay and that things would be taken care of. So, looking at these two events, what with her conversation with her sister Kathleen, and then of course having this car accident, which was going to total a lot of money in damage. And even though it was being taken care of, the fact is she caused it. Um, you could see how that can be overwhelming stress for anyone, especially someone at her age. Now, I don't know I don't know what you guys were like at age 21, but I know most of us, at age 21, we can lack perspective, and sometimes things can seem like it's the end of the world when it's not. Now, maybe some of you were more mature at 21. I wasn't. So something like that, hell, even things in my 30s, sometimes things you're just like, oh my god, like you can't see the forest for the trees, and that's sometimes these things will pass. Um, and that's where I think I relate with Mora. Or anyone going through something like this. I'm sure many of us have had stress that sometimes compound together, and we just need a mental health break. I know I had moments where I was burnt out due to stress. Sometimes it was because of my own stupid mistakes. Sometimes it was just circumstances that were beyond my control. And look, we've all done this. I don't think there's a saint among us, but I'm sure many of us have lied to our employer, our school, our friends, or our family because, you know, we're not trying to cause any needless worry, and we don't want anyone to think badly of us, and we just need to take care of ourselves. And that's either by getting away for a day, a weekend, or a week. We do it because we need to. Clearly and understandably, I think based on what we know, Maura felt she needed that. She needed to get away. So going back to February 9th, Maura looked into and made preparations to leave. She was going to leave Amherst, and based on what is known, Maura searched MapQuest for directions to the Berkshires and Burlington, Vermont. She also made a phone call inquiring about renting a condominium, um, which was in Bartlett, New Hampshire, and I believe it was a place her family vacationed in the past. She also called a number which provided information about booking hotels in Stowe, Vermont. Um, Now, also, again, jumping ahead, when law enforcement looked into her car, they found she packed clothing, toiletries, her college textbooks, and other items that would, lead any reasonable person, I think, to believe that she was going to return to UMass. This was not a woman who was trying to run away. And before leaving to wherever she was trying to get to, and in no particular order, she picked up accident forms to fill out, which also would indicate that she was planning on returning. Otherwise, why do you grab that? If you're just going to leave, you're going to leave. You're not going to grab accident reports. I mean, that makes sense, right? So this would indicate to me that she was not trying to run away from the men in her life, be it her boyfriend, her father, or just her family altogether. She, and just to move on, she went to the bank to withdraw $280, went to the liquor store and bought around $40 worth of alcohol, and then she left Amherst at about between 4 and 5 p.m. That's my understanding of it. Now, going back to the crash site that night, at around 7:46 p.m., it was reported by law enforcement that her car had been impacted by a tree on the driver's side of the vehicle, and it was severely damaged. I mean, here, let me say that again. um, it was reported by law enforcement that the car had impacted a tree on the driver's side of the vehicle, and it severely damaged the left headlight and pushing the car's radiator into the fan. Um, it's worth noting that that there's been controversy on if the damage was caused by a tree or something else, but something that can't be reasonably disputed, as far as I'm concerned, is that Maura crashed and hit something in that area and at that time, and it was likely a tree, or maybe it was different points of impact. I'm not an accident reconstructionist, but the facts state that she crashed at that location, be it she hit a tree, a snowbank, a ditch, or all of the above. Now, the car's windshield was cracked on the driver's side and both airbags had deployed. It was reported that the car was locked. Inside and outside the car, red stains that looked to be red wine was discovered. Inside the car, the officer found an empty beer bottle and damaged box of Frenzia wine on the rear seat. If Maura was drinking, I could see why she wouldn't want help from the local school bus driver. I know he was a bigger guy, could have came off more scary because of that and intimidating. I've heard that other females have talked about their perspective on that, but I also think that if she was drinking, on top of everything that with the car accident, I just don't think a potential DUI would be. I think it would be the last thing that she would want. And if she was going to flee from the scene because of that, and if I'm being honest, I would have done the exact same thing. I can understand why. So, so nearly 18 years later, and tragically, Maura Murray is still missing. Um, The mystery surrounding her disappearance has been covered in television, news stories, documentaries, news articles, blogs, podcasts, books, and so on and so on and so on. While some reported Maura's disappearance as objectively as they could with the information that they had, sadly, untrue and wild speculative content created to fatten the pockets of certain someones hijacked and dominated Maura's story for a time. In addition, misinformation and lies spread and created by either a sadistic troll or several trolls for his, her, or their own disgusting satisfaction muddied the waters, even more so by demonizing Maura, her family, or those who advocate. He, she, they have gone as far as to unforgivingly impersonate Maura online. Predominantly, social media has not always been kind to Maura, her family, or her advocates. There are those who abuse social media and harness its power for the wrong reasons and not limited to hurting her image and the image of those who loved and cared for her the most. Again, even going as far as having the audacity to impersonate her, emailing people, or just posting on social media posts. I think Topics was one of them. I could be wrong, but I think it was. Now, however, despite the years of abuse, I have also seen a recent and long overdue pushback. I see a young woman whose human flaws were exploited to hype, shame, and sell controversy get challenged by people who knew her best, to let the world know that this missing person is in fact a person who deserves honor, empathy, and respect, and that trumps the tabloid gossip falsehoods and whatever behind the scenes issues that people feel entitled to knowing. Thankfully, There have been platforms to help with this and project and honor more loudly the wonderful character and person that is Maura Murray. But despite the progress, and as it was stated before, the one inconvenient fact still remains: Maura Murray, after nearly 18 years, is still missing. Coming up on February 9th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m., the family humbly asks you to light a candle for Maura, whether, wherever she may be. Please take a photo or video of the candle, or you with the candle, and wherever you post on social media, please hashtag Maura Murray and Maura18. Some might ask, why light a candle? How does it help? Well, let me try to explain it, or at least explain the reasons why it matters. Healgrief.org, in my opinion, really helps to explain part of the reason. Lighting a candle is one way to show that you remember someone. It is a way to show that you want to honor that person, whether you do so at home, in a church, or through a virtual candle website. The goal is the same. Making this small gesture can be quite a life-changing statement, both for you and for others you hope to support. If, for example, you lost a family member, you may not have a lot of words to say to the immediate family, but you want them to know you're thinking of them and honoring the lost individual. A virtual candle helps to do that. When the number of candles increases, so whether it's 10, 20, 30, 100, 1,000, whatever the case may be, it can help the family see just how much this person meant to others. You also don't overlook that value of such a gesture. I mean, it's huge, and you can't do much, right? Can't do much about the surrounding circumstances, but what you can do, though, is just show simply that you are there thinking of them and sending them good thoughts. So why the hashtags, right? Well, it increases awareness, and clearly, and not just to honor Maura, just so you could show respect and empathy, but it can possibly bring fresh eyes, and you just never know who might see this, and maybe, and just maybe, in the most of Hail Mary possibilities, someone can see this, and it just might, they might have something that could lead to solving this case of her disappearance. That's my hope, at least. So if you're compelled, please honor Maura, light a candle, share, and help transform a depressing, dark day by making it a little brighter for a family who loves and misses Maura so very much. To conclude, and on a different note, there are so many missing people out there, so many grieving families. It's virtually impossible to cover them all due to the sheer volume of it. All we can do is our best and cover them, what we can. I wish they can all be covered. I don't know if that's feasibly possible, and that's a tragedy in itself. But a dear friend of mine is helping to do just that. She is working alongside James Basinger by helping to produce season 3 of the Hide and Seek podcast. And the podcast looks into missing person cold cases. Season 1 covers Nancy Moyer. Season 2 covers Logan Schindelman. And Season 3 will cover Brittany Wallace Shank. And I will provide links below to everything that we discussed today. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I wish for the very best for the family and, of course, for Maura. And to me, that is the most important thing. So, yeah, that's it. So I appreciate you listening. And until next time, be good to one another.